TV, livinginblack.com. My name is Keedy Awado, aka The Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Tuesday, the 8th of October, 2024 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6264 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we've realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Oh, okay. And here we are. We have another day, another set of profound, insightful studies to share with you. I'm going to take a little different tack. We have for several weeks been focusing on, or actually for a couple of months, focusing on the upcoming book, Living Superfood Solutions, Dietary Strategies to Prevent and Reverse Common Chronic Diseases. Well, today, we, as people of African heritage in the U.S., are anticipating another major hurricane to be hitting the southern United States, predicted to make landfall within the next 48 hours. Hurricane Milton is what it's being called. I had a note come into my email from one of our long-time listeners and supporters, and he put something very interesting on the table, to which I actually created today's program. So first, let me describe today's program. Killer hurricanes, meteorological, man-made, or metaphysical. Looking at the record of hurricanes and tropical storms that have impacted the continental U.S., Caribbean Basin, and Mexico over the past 30 years, we can see how they are getting worse each season. Today, we explore these worsening storms with the intent to clarify the reasons that we are witnessing this phenomenon. Many have speculated that these storms are evidence of weather manipulation, while others blame esoteric origins. We are the curious, science-minded ones to challenge each of these theories about the origins of killer hurricanes invading the U.S. So that is what is on the table for today. I got a note from my brother in the Far East. He wrote, "Greetings, Mr. Wadu. I am thinking that the most recent hurricane activity on the East Coast elsewhere in the U.S. may not be due to HAARP, that is, of course, the High Amplitude Atmospheric Research Project, but rather sent by our ancestors in the unseen worlds as a message to the so-called leaders or kakistocracy in the U.S. as to who's really in charge." Food for thought. And I replied to that email, and the reply will show up in no small extent in today's conversation. In fact, here's the gist of the reply that I wrote back to him. Hurricanes are primarily meteorological phenomena. They are large, organized systems of clouds and thunderstorms that originate over warm ocean waters and are characterized by strong winds, heavy rain, and low atmospheric pressure. This wasn't my reply. This reads as if it were a AI introduction to hurricanes. The formation and behavior of hurricanes are studied within the field of meteorology, which examines weather patterns, atmospheric conditions, and oceanic influences. While some cultures may interpret hurricanes or natural disasters in a metaphysical or symbolic way, attributing them to spiritual or supernatural causes, scientifically, hurricanes are understood through the principles of physics and atmospheric science. Now, real quickly, I'm just going to go back to the original conversation with myself and my brother, and I'm going to read the actual response to his inquiry. And again, the last line was, he said that hurricanes may not be due to harm, but sent by our ancestors in the unseen worlds as a message to the so-called leaders or a kakistocracy in the U.S. as to who's really in charge. Food for thought. I wrote, this sounds like a good topic for my morning broadcast. I've heard many different explanations, including the metaphysical. I do know that the temperatures here in the Southwest desert have changed very dramatically in the last decade. We are now 1 week into October, and it's just getting below 100 degrees daily, 100 plus degrees daily. And today is the 8th, and it's predicted, according to the morning forecast, to reach 100 degrees today. As such, the ocean temperatures are climbing. This evaporates more moisture into the upper atmosphere and creates powerful temperature-driven low-pressure zone vortexes between the ocean surface and the cloud layers. These tropical storms and hurricanes generally follow the route of the Atlantic Ocean trade currents that travel from West Africa into the Caribbean basin. So that was my explanation. Now let's go a little bit deeper into it today, and let's see if there are other explanations about these phenomena that you and I should be, could be, would be paying attention to, because quite simply they do impact, they do affect our lives. As such, we do pay attention. Oh, yes, we do. We do pay attention. So going forward, let me go into the research that I assembled for today. Not too much research, but we are going to look at some of these storms. Let me reread that last paragraph and continue. While some cultures may interpret hurricanes or natural disasters in a metaphysical or symbolic way, attributing them to spiritual or supernatural causes, scientifically, hurricanes are understood through the principles of physics and atmospheric science. September 24, Hurricane Helene formed over the western Caribbean before moving toward the Big Bend region of Florida. It made landfall there on September 26 at Category 4 strength. October 5th, Hurricane Milton, M-I-L-T-O-N, formed in the Gulf of Mexico, explosively intensified into the second Category 5 hurricane of the season, becoming the most intense Atlantic hurricane since Wilma in 2005. I have a few news stories. The first one I'm going to share comes from NBC News, dated yesterday, October 7. Hurricane Milton, potentially catastrophic. Category 5 storm takes aim at Florida. By NBC News, October 7, 2024. The storm is expected to make landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast on Wednesday. Milton has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for West Central Florida, National Hurricane Forecasters wrote in a Monday evening forecast. Forecasters said the winds at the center of the hurricane could weaken before it makes landfall overnight on Wednesday, but that the storm will grow much larger putting much of the Florida peninsula in harm's way. And the last report that I saw on this morning, that it had dipped from Category 5 to Category 4. Category 4 is still very, very devastating, and especially since Florida lies so low on the sea level. Many parts of Florida are already swamplands, so any notions of ocean rising, of what do they call it, a ocean surge, is going to be really quite problem. Forecasters were expecting heavy rainfall on Monday evening and more intense precipitation on Tuesday. The National Hurricane Center said it expected, quote, devastating hurricane force winds, unquote, along Florida's west coast as it approaches the coastline on Wednesday. Communities near the Tampa Bay area could see up to 15 feet of storm surge. That was the term I was looking for, storm surge, according to Hurricane Center forecasts. The storm intensified so rapidly because waters in the Gulf of Mexico are record hot. Forecasters were aghast at how quickly Milton picked up steam. Here's a second story on the same theme, Hurricane Milton barreling down on the U.S. This story is from ScienceAlert.com. Hurricane Milton exploded into a Cat 5 storm in less than a day. Here's why, by Zachary Handlos, Science Alert Environment, October 8, 2024. Hurricane Milton. And here, let me just share this link for those of you who wish to study along with us. I think this will all fit on one link. Let's see if it do. And I encourage each and every one of you to please do participate in today's conversation. I love hearing from you. You are an integral part of what we do on LIB Radio. And no, it did not fit on one link. So what I have to do here is split that into two pieces and try it one more time. Here is I'm just going to give you the link to the article. You've heard me read the title. And I wonder sometimes if people really do, well, you see the title there, if people really do follow these links. I know a few of you do. My sister 4, Africa 1, Sister Shingai, I know she is on top of the research that we do here. We had a wonderful conversation here very recently. Here we go. We continue. I did push up that link to the second article from Science Alert. Let's read further from the article. Here's what it has to say. Hurricane Milton went from a barely hurricane strength to a dangerous Category 5 storm in less than 24 hours. As it headed across the Gulf of Mexico toward Florida. As its wind speed increased, Milton became one of the most rapidly intensifying storms on record, with a 180 mile per hour sustained winds on October 7, 2024, and very low pressure. It also became one of the strongest storms of the year. Less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene's devastating impact, this kind of storm was the last thing Florida wanted to see. Hurricane Milton was expected to make landfall as a major hurricane late on October 9 or early October 10, and had already prompted widespread evacuations. So that takes us into that. We got more information on these storms. We're going to go through and look at some of these storm seasons over the past decade or two. And you're going to see a pattern there that is not encouraging. But in my response to the note that my brother sent me about the ancestors sending these storms, I did mention about the science of hurricanes. Let me go into that right now. I asked this question of a search engine, an AI search engine. This comes from Brave. I thought Brave did an excellent job on this topic. How do higher ocean temperatures generate powerful weather vortexes in the central Atlantic Ocean? I later expanded that to inquiry into not just central Atlantic hurricanes and tropical storms, but also Gulf storms. There is a difference, and we need to know that that difference is. Here was the response from Brave. Higher ocean temperatures can significantly influence the formation and intensity of weather systems, particularly tropical cyclones, hurricanes, in the central Atlantic Ocean. Here's how this process works. Point 1. Increased evaporation. Warmer ocean waters lead to higher rates of evaporation. This process adds moisture to the atmosphere, which is a critical ingredient for storm formation. Point 2. Enhanced convection. This added moisture in the atmosphere contributes to convection, where warm, moist air rises. As this air rises, it cools and condenses, releasing latent heat. The release of heat warms the surrounding air, causing it to rise further and creating a cycle that can lead to the development of a low pressure system. Point 3. Low pressure systems. As the warm, moist air rises, it creates an area of lower pressure at the surface. This low pressure area can draw in surrounding air, which can lead to the development of a vortex or rotation, a key characteristic of tropical cyclones. Point 4. The Coriolis effect. The rotation of the Earth, the Coriolis effect, helps to organize the storm system, allowing it to develop a more defined structure. This effect is crucial for the rotation of weather systems in the tropics. Now again, with the rotation of the Earth, something came to mind about the flat earthers. With the rotation of the Earth, and again, the atmosphere travels with the rotation of the Earth, so it's not the wind blowing across the surface of the ocean like the flat earthers pose. It is about the tides, the moon, the tides, the rise and fall of ocean levels, the tides. And with the rise and fall of ocean levels, this creates this squeezing effect, from which this is called the Coriolis effect. It's crucial for the rotation of weather systems in the tropics. Point 5, feedback loop. As the storm intensifies, it can further lower the pressure at its center, leading to stronger winds and more evaporation from the ocean surface, which in turn feeds more moisture into the storm. This positive feedback loop can lead to the rapid intensification of hurricanes. This is the phenomena happening with Hurricane Milton. And I think Hurricane Helene also formed in the Gulf of Mexico, which is why Gulf of Mexico storms appear to be, on the surface, much more intense in their rapid formation than Atlantic cyclones. Point number 6, climate change influence. With climate change, ocean temperatures are rising, which can lead to more frequent and intense storms. Warmer waters can also extend the hurricane season and increase the potential for storms to develop in regions that were previously less conducive to such systems. In summary, higher ocean temperatures contribute to the formation of powerful weather vortexes in the central Atlantic Ocean, by increasing evaporation, enhancing convection, creating low pressure systems, and facilitating the development of organized storm structures. Now that was from Ecosia. I did a similar inquiry to Brave. They're going to overlap somewhat, but there's also a couple of distinct points that do need to be understood. I welcome you, our listening audience. You may have an opinion about these storms as well. We'd love to hear what you have to say. If nothing else, can we get everyone who's listening right now to hit the like button? Whether you are on our YouTube channel, and today, yes, I am broadcasting on my second YouTube channel, or whether you are viewing us on younow.com. We love hearing from you. Just drop a couple of words in the chat. Your voice is always going to be welcome here on your LB Radio. Many of our listeners are on a Rumble broadcast, which I like Rumble because Rumble does not censor. And as well, people are listening on our Facebook Live. Make sure you hit the like button. And as usual, all day long listening on our TuneIn app too, LIB Radio. Let's go forward. I do see for Africa One, my sister has joined us today. Hetep, Brother Kidi, and Global LIB family, Akwaba. Welcome to you, beloved. Great to see you in your house today here on LIB Radio and LIB TV. Make sure you, as everyone else, make sure you do hit the like button. Let the algorithms know that you are a part of this family. Here we go. We're going back in. We're doing the same inquiry, the same question about ocean temperatures and Atlantic vortexes. Higher ocean temperatures in the central Atlantic Ocean contribute to the formation of powerful weather vortexes through several mechanisms. Point one, increased evaporation. Warmer ocean waters evaporate more moisture into the atmosphere, leading to increased humidity and instability. This sets the stage for the development of powerful weather systems. Point two, enhanced convection. As warm air rises, it cools and the water vapor condenses, releasing heat and fueling further convection. This process strengthens updrafts and downdrafts, creating powerful vortexes. Point three, increased atmospheric water vapor. Higher sea surface temperatures lead to an increase in atmospheric water vapor over the oceans. This excess moisture feeds weather systems, amplifying their intensity and leading to more powerful vortexes. Point four, favorable wind patterns. In the central Atlantic, southeasterly winds can drag surface waters away from the equator, bringing relatively cold water from deeper layers to the surface. This process, known as equatorial upswelling, creates a tongue of relatively cool water along the equator. This temperature gradient can enhance the formation of powerful vortexes. Number five, Atlantic Nino-like conditions. When the North Atlantic is extremely warm, as seen in recent years, it can lead to Atlantic Nino-like conditions. This can increase the likelihood of powerful hurricanes developing near the Cape Verde Islands, which is off the west coast of Africa, which in turn can generate powerful weather vortexes in the central Atlantic. The key takeaway here: higher ocean temperatures in the central Atlantic Ocean create a conducive environment for powerful weather vortexes by increasing evaporation, enhancing convection, and amplifying atmospheric water vapor, ultimately leading to more intense weather systems. So that was a pretty good explanation again from Brave AI search at that particular point. The first one I used was Ecosia, which I thought did a pretty good job. Now we're going to get year-on-year reports from these ocean events. And to do so, I'm going to pull up here, bear with me one second, another page, and use this other page for information. So what I'm going to do, copy, cut, and paste the link from Wikipedia. I'll share that with those of you who want to study along. Here is the Wikipedia link. And I'll post this up for our Rumble listeners as well. Where is you is? Is you here or is you there? Here he is. To our Rumble family, here is the link. Now, this is very interesting because this particular link I'm sharing right now allows us to look at these hurricane years, these hurricane seasons year after year. By doing so, we get some very powerful revelations. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first pull that up, and then I'm going to read for what I pulled yesterday, already copy, cut, and paste. We're talking about from Wikipedia, 2024 Atlantic hurricane season from Wikipedia. First system formed June 19, 2024. The last system dissipated, but the season is ongoing. Again, the strongest storm is the one named Milton, which is the one that hits tomorrow, Wednesday the 9th, or early Thursday the 10th. It has 180 mile per hour winds, which is 285 kilometers per hour. The lowest pressure is 897 mbar. That's the low pressure. Total number of depressions in the storm is 13. Therefore, the total number of storms, 13. So far, this hurricane season has produced 9 hurricanes. The average has been 7. And this has produced 9 major hurricanes, category 3 and above, 4. For this hurricane season 2024, a total of 335 deaths have occurred from hurricanes so far this year. Total damage, $49.864 billion US dollars. The 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is the ongoing Atlantic hurricane season in the Northern Hemisphere. The season officially began on June 1 and will end on November 30. These dates, adopted by convention, historically describe the period in each year when most subtropical or tropical cyclogenesis occurs in the Atlantic Ocean. The first system, Tropical Storm Alberto, developed on June 19, making it the latest first-named storm since 2014. So this season in 2024 started latest. Is the latest since 2014. It started later, the latest starting in the last decade. But it has now produced 9 hurricanes, of which Milton is the 9th. The second storm of the season, Hurricane Beryl, was an extremely rare June major hurricane, the earliest Cat 5 Atlantic hurricane on record, and only the second recorded in July. Next came Tropical Storm Chris, which formed on the last day of June and quickly made landfall in Veracruz, Mexico. Activity then quieted down across the basin for most of July after Beryl dissipated, with no new tropical cyclones forming due to the presence of the Saharan air layer, SAL, across much of the Atlantic. In early August, Hurricane Debbie developed in the Gulf of Mexico before making landfall in Florida and South Carolina. Shortly thereafter came Hurricane Ernesto, which impacted the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda in mid-August. And we have a family member who was impacted by that, hitting Puerto Rico. Their power was down for several weeks. He actually came to stay here in Las Vegas because of that. So that was Hurricane Ernesto. After an unusual lull in activity in late August and early September, Hurricane Francine formed in the Gulf, then made landfall in Louisiana. Later, on September 24, Hurricane Helene formed over the western Caribbean before moving toward the Big Bend region of Florida. It made landfall there on September 26 at Category 4 strength. On October 5, Hurricane Milton formed in the Gulf of Mexico and explosively intensified into the second Category 5 hurricane of the season, becoming the most intense Atlantic hurricane since Wilma in 2005. As of October 8, there have been at least 335 fatalities and over $49.867 billion in damage, mostly from Beryl and Helene. Now, I did another inquiry. This is where I wanted to be more clear, because I had only been looking at Atlantic Ocean formed tropical cyclones and storms. Now, compare the strength of Atlantic hurricanes to Gulf of Mexico hurricanes. Copilot responded. The strength of hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico can vary significantly, but there are some notable differences and similarities. 1. Atlantic hurricanes. 1. Formation and path. Atlantic hurricanes often form off the coast of Africa and travel across the Atlantic Ocean. They can gain strength over the warm waters of the Atlantic before making landfall in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, or the eastern United States. Point 2 about Atlantic hurricanes. Intensity. Some of the most powerful hurricanes in history, such as Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Irma, have formed in the Atlantic. These storms can reach Category 5 status with sustained winds exceeding 157 miles per hour. Duration. Atlantic hurricanes can travel long distances, sometimes maintaining their strength for extended periods. For example, Hurricane Irma remained at Category 5 strength for a record 37 hours. Now, compare these to Gulf of Mexico hurricanes. Point 1, rapid intensification. The Gulf of Mexico is known for its warm waters, which can lead to rapid intensification of hurricanes. For instance, Hurricane Milton, that's the current storm, recently intensified from a Category 2 to a Category 5 in just a few hours. Point 2, landfall impact. Hurricanes in the Gulf often make landfall along the Gulf Coast, impacting states like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. The proximity to land can sometimes limit the duration of their peak intensity compared to Atlantic hurricanes. Point 3, historical strength. The Gulf has seen some of the strongest hurricanes to hit the U.S., such as Hurricane Camille and Hurricane Michael, both of which reached Category 5 status. So, what do Atlantic and Gulf hurricanes have in common? Point 1, warm waters. Both regions benefit from warm sea surface temperatures, which are crucial for hurricane formation and intensification. Point 2, seasonal patterns. The peak hurricane season for both Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico is from June to November, with the highest activity typically occurring in September. Overall, while both regions can produce extremely powerful hurricanes, the Gulf of Mexico's warm waters often lead to more rapid intensification, whereas the Atlantic can support longer lasting and far traveling storms. So that is what that inquiry brought forward, and just double checking to make sure any of our listeners get your words in. Now, let's just take some time. I pulled up a few articles to share for today's conversation. And then we want to look at these storms from year to year to observe and to confirm the pattern that these are getting significantly worse. So going through the next article I pulled up, I'm not going to post up the title and author because it's rather long, but for those who want to study along, here is the link to this next article I'm going to be sharing. And here's the link. The article is entitled, "What is the Strongest Hurricane Ever? How Hurricane Milton Compares to Powerful Storms as Hurricane Milton Intensifies in the Gulf of Mexico. A look at some of the strongest storms to hit the U.S. and the devastation that accompanied each," written by J.R. Fernando Cervantes from USA Today. This is dated Monday, August the 7th. No, they were dated yesterday. That's Monday, August 7th. Not August, October 7th. Correct myself. Hurricane Milton strengthened to a powerful Category 5 storm in the Gulf of Mexico on Monday, with sustained winds of 175 miles per hour as it nears Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, just weeks after rapid intensification turned Hurricane Helene into a monster storm. Milton went from a Category 2 to 5 in only a matter of hours on Monday. Milton's intensity is expected to weaken before the storm makes landfall later this week, but Milton will still threaten the Florida coast as a major and deadly hurricane, the National Hurricane Center said in an advisory. Hurricane Helene, which has been linked to more than 200 deaths across the southeastern U.S., made landfall along Florida's Big Bend on September 26 as a Category 4 storm with 140 mile per hour winds. The 175 mile per hour winds sustained by Milton on Monday tie it with other infamous hurricanes like Andrew and Katrina on the strongest Atlantic hurricanes as the strongest hurricanes of all time. Here are some other comparable storms. Now, that was from the story from USA Today. I cut the story at that particular point, but what I am going to do right now is go to, I pulled up a Wikipedia page to look at these storms. Let me real quickly go there. 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Here are the highlights. The first storm formed June 19. The season is ongoing and expected to last through the end of November. The strongest storm so far of the season is Milton, the one happening right now. Maximum winds 180 miles per hour, 285 kilometers. Lowest pressure 897 millibars. For the season, so far there have been 13 total depressions, 13 total storms. 9 of these hurricanes, 4 of them major hurricanes. Total fatalities 335 so far. Total damage $49.864 billion in damage. So that is the 2024 hurricane season. Let's now take a look at an overview of the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season. And that includes, of course, the Gulf as well. For the Atlantic season, the first storm formed was January 16. Again, for 2024, the first hurricane was June but this one in January 16. The last system dissipated October 28. The strongest storm of 2023 was Lee. Maximum winds 165 miles per hour. Its lowest pressure 926 millibars. Total depressions 21. Total storms 20. Had 7 hurricanes, of which 3 were major hurricanes. Total fatalities for 2023 21. Total damages 4.2 billion US dollars. Quite a contrast from 2024, which turning out to be much worse. Let's go to 2022. Bear with me here. 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. The first storm formed June 5, 2022. The last storm dissipated November 11. The largest storm was Hurricane Ian with 160 miles per hour sustained winds, 937 millibar low pressure. Maximum winds. There was also another large storm, Fiona, that year, 140 mile per hour maximum winds. For the season, total number of depressions 16, total storms 14. Had 8 hurricanes, 2 major hurricanes, 304 fatalities, and $117.7 billion in damage. This was the third costliest tropical cyclone season on record. Of course, it looks like 2024 will be the costliest. Of course, you have your inflation also raising costs. Let's skip a couple of years. Let's go to 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. First system formed May 16. The last one dissipated November 18. The strongest storm of the year, Iota. Maximum winds 155 miles per hour. Again, maximum winds for Milton 2024, 180. Lowest pressure 917 millibar. Total depressions 31. Total storms 30, which is a record high. Had 14 hurricanes, of which it had 7 major hurricanes. So 2020 was a pretty devastating year. Total number of fatalities 432. Total damage 55,394 in 2020 US dollars. Again, for this year, total damage so far over $87 billion. Let's go back from there another 5 years. Let's look at 2015. Going from 2020 to 2015 Atlantic hurricane season. First system formed May 8. Last system dissipated November 11. The strongest storm, Joaquin. Maximum winds 155 miles per hour. Lowest pressure 931 millibars. For the season, total depressions 12, total storms 11, 4 hurricanes, of which 2 were major hurricanes, 89 fatalities, and $813.9 million in damage. That's quite a distinction from 9 years later for 2024. Let's go to 2010. We'll do just a couple more of these. I'm showing you that this is getting worse year after year. Let's look at 2010 Atlantic hurricane season. The first storm formed June 25. The last storm dissipated November 7. The strongest storm of the year, Igor, with 155 miles per hour, sustained winds 250 kilometers per hour. The lowest pressure 924 millibars. Total depressions 21. Total storms 19. Total hurricanes 12. Major hurricanes 5. So 2010 was a bad year. 392 people lost their lives. Total damage, $7.39 billion. And of course, the dollar damage is, of course, impacted by the devaluation of the dollar and the inflation that has taken place. Again, recalling what we recorded for the damage from the dollar damage from this year so far, as of October, this is this year, there have been 335 fatalities and over $49.867 billion in damage. I may have said 86 billion. Sorry about that. I did the numbers juggled around in my head. Less than $50 billion of damage in the 2024 season. Going back, that compares to, for 2010, $7.39 billion in damage. Let's go back a decade from there to 2000. So to the 2000 Atlantic hurricane season, here's what it had to report. First system formed June 7. The last one dissipated October 29. The strongest storm was Hurricane Keith at 140 miles per hour. Again, for this year, Milton has already formed 180 at its peak. The seasonal statistics: total depressions 19, total storms 15, 8 hurricanes, of which 3 were major hurricanes. 103 people lost their lives, and the total damage $1.29 billion US dollars. So, lastly, let's take one more year. Let's go back a decade from there to 1990 Atlantic hurricane season. 1990 will take us then 34 years from current. 1990 Atlantic hurricane season. First storm formed May 24. Last one dissipated October 21. The strongest storm of the year was Gustav with 120 mile per hour sustained winds. Lowest pressure 956 millibars. Total depression 16. Total storms 14. Had 8 hurricanes and 1 major hurricane, that was Gustav. 171 people lost their lives and $152.61 million damage in 1990 dollars. And again, for this year, 335 people have lost their lives and damage at just under $50 billion in damage in hurricanes. So how does that all fit together? What is this painting as a larger picture? I think it is painting the larger picture that global warming is changing weather patterns on a major basis. And hurricanes are getting worse. There are still some people, maybe the flat earthers, who claiming that global warming is a hoax. I don't believe so. And I think that we would be best to prepare for more disastrous weather and droughts because of global warming. Let's talk about emergency preparedness. I have one of these on my desk for today. Let me just find where it is. Where issue is. Talk about killer hurricanes. It's not there. I had one of my pages dealing with emergency preparedness. Let me just pull this up. Emergency preparedness. Now, I contend that each of us should have emergency preparedness program in place for ourselves, for our families. There's many different places where you can find guides for emergency preparedness. I'm just looking right now from USA.gov. If you still trust the United States to protect your self-interest, many people don't. Many people are bitterly complaining this year because under the Biden-Harris administration, I'm going to attach them to, since they are doing that when they feel it's convenient for them to boast. But under the Biden-Harris administration, many people are bitterly complaining that FEMA doesn't have the resources to deal with these level of emergencies that are happening. Let me see if I can find a link to that. And bear with me, I'm going in raw dog. I'm going in raw looking for this link. I'm looking for complaints about FEMA support. And from my understanding, it was $750 that they're offering. And fact check. In the U.S., FEMA's $750 hurricane relief alone. This is fact checking from MSNBC. I do see another separate article, and this is not being fact checked. So I'm going to pull that one up so you can have access to it. FEMA will only provide $750 to disaster survivors to support their recovery. Fact. This is false. This is what they say. This is false. This is a type of assistance that may be approved for soon after you apply, called serious needs assistance. It is an upfront, flexible payment to help cover essential items like food, water, baby formula, breastfeeding supplies, medication, and other emergency supplies. There are other forms of assistance that you may qualify for to receive. And serious needs assistance is an initial payment you may receive while FEMA assesses your eligibility for additional funds. As your application continues to be reviewed, you may still receive additional forms of assistance for other needs, such as support for temporary housing, personal property, and home repair costs. If you have questions about your disaster assistance application and what you qualify for, contact FEMA at 800-621-3362 to speak with a FEMA representative in your language. So it's not necessarily false that the $750 is the payment. They're saying it's false because there are other additional resources that you will be able to apply for, but the $750 is called a serious needs assessment. So it's partially true, partially false. Let me put up that link so those of you studying along with us can have access to that as well. And nobody talking to me? Anybody talking to me? We do have an audience today. Great to have you with us. But if you talk to me, it's a beautiful thing. I do see Gavin Devine talking to me. Baking soda peroxide. Good supplies to have around. I agree. Baking soda and peroxide. Good for skin care, perhaps wound care with the hydrogen peroxide. Baking soda is good for so many things. Good for putting that in. Let's talk about emergency supplies that people could be used. And thank you, Gavin Devine, for not talking about ED. ED, baking soda peroxide, because if you had made that connection, I was going to block you. But insofar as having these in your emergency supply preparedness kit, yes. Baking soda and peroxide, yes, no doubt. And if you have to use that for ED and it's in your preparedness kit, hey, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. We're talking about emergency supplies. Now, here's one more article on this issue of the FEMA checks. This one from polyfact.com. The $750 from FEMA that Kamala Harris is offering them is actually a loan, not real relief, and that if they don't pay it back, the feds can seize their property. This is probably fact-checked to be false. If your time is short, it says the FEMA Emergency Management Agency provides serious needs assistance of $750 per household to help cover disaster survivors' emergency supplies, including water, food, first aid, diapers, personal hygiene items, and fuel for transportation. These payments for essential supplies are not loans that need repaying, according to the agency and its spokesperson. And it says further, FEMA does not seize property. So PolitiFact, the Poynter Institute, their headline is fake news. And let me just point them out so people can know that if you go to PolitiFact, which appears to be one of these right-wing reactionary websites, let me just say this is fake news. And I'll put up that link right there to the PolitiFact. Copy, cut, and paste. This is fake news. People need to know the difference between usable news and fake news. I do appreciate knowing the difference. So I'm going to post that up for those of you on my Facebook. Make sure, wherever you're listening today, hit the like button. It'll take you less than a split second to just hit that like button. And that link didn't work, whatever that was. Let me delete that and try this one more time. This is fake news. Where did you go? Where is you is? From PolitiFact. Oh, okay. Copy, cut and paste. Once again, try this a second time. This is fake news. And there it is. So, sharing that link as well on my Facebook page. This is fake news. Okay, I got it now. I think I got it. Yeah, this is fake news, and I did put the link up. It's working now. So, double check me, see if we got any messages. I do see nobody else is checking in, but I know you love me. I know you do. We're almost finished with today's program. Killer hurricanes, meteorological, man-made, or metaphysical. And just real quickly, for those of you just tuning in, let me just recap the theme of what today's program is about. Looking at the record of hurricanes and tropical storms that have impacted the continental U.S., Caribbean Basin, and Mexico over the past 30 years, and we went to 34 years, we can see how they are getting worse each season. Today, we explore these worsening storms with the intent to clarify the reasons that we are witnessing this phenomena. Many have speculated that these storms are evidence of weather manipulation, while others blame esoteric origins. We are the curious, science-minded ones to challenge each of these theories about the origins of killer hurricanes invading the U.S. And I want to just briefly, because I have it up on my desk, look at this idea of HAARP. And where did I put it? I had it up earlier today. Let me just go to HAARP, capital A&D, hurricanes. And it'll come up with some of these stories I do see the first link that comes up. I'm using DuckDuckGo. Fact check. NEXRAD, Doppler, HARP did not push Hurricane Helene. It said neither HARP nor NEXRAD can steer hurricanes. No technology that humans have can create, destroy, modify, intensify, or steer hurricanes in any way, shape, or form. The radar imagery included in the Instagram video is real and shows a partial URL from weather.cod.edu. That looks interesting. Let me open that in a new tab. But let me just find one of these conspiracy ones. HARP. Here we go. This looks like it's one of these good ones proposing this idea. I'm going to go to Climate Feedback, which looks like a website that I would pay attention to. Nearly 3 decades on, the chemtrail, HARP, geoengineering, conspiracy theory remains popular despite lack of evidence and no scientific basis. Well, let's see what they have to say. I said this looks like one I would pay attention to. I actually do share broadcasts about climate change, which comes from, and why am I not getting audio here? Bear with me. That the link has frozen for our YouNow Rumble family, and the page has frozen. The whole computer is frozen, is locked up, and locked you out. And the only thing I'm going to be able to do there is a cold boot. Hate doing that right in the middle of the show. But sometimes you got to do things like that. I wasn't monitoring that. But here they're fact checking this claim. Global weather is controlled by secret geoengineering programs using chemtrails and ionosphere heating facilities. Incorrect. Weather forms mainly in the troposphere and is driven by energy from the sun. Research facilities like HARP only influence a small area of the ionosphere directly above them, which it is tens to hundreds of kilometers above where weather forms and occurs. It says it's unsupported. There is no evidence for the existence of chemtrails. Which now, that one sentence, there is no evidence for the existence of chemtrails, that sentence undermines this whole website. There is no evidence for the existence of chemtrails except for people can see them. and whistleblowers have exposed them. Nor is there evidence for the saturation of Earth's atmosphere with any substances from chemtrails. The energy that research facilities like HARP transmit to the atmosphere is billions of times smaller than the energy needed to power most weather systems, such as mid-latitude cyclones. So if they say there's no evidence for the existence of chemtrails, then I've just got to dismiss them completely. But I'm looking for somebody and it looks like PolitiFact, which we didn't like earlier, maybe the only one. Nature is talking about earthquake conspiracy discussion. That's not the stuff I'm interested in. Let's try a couple more. Reuters, U.S. officials struggle to quash Hurricane Helene conspiracy theories. Yahoo, false claims chemtrails. Let me just see weather modification podcast. Because there's one that we share here regularly on LIB Radio. And let's try this one. let's try this one. There are a few links. I don't have time to go through these. This from Future Generations, futuregen.com, podcast number 196, The Hidden Truth Behind Weather Modification and Geoengineering with Renette Sinam. And this week's episode explores the intricate issues surrounding geoengineering, weather modification, and their impacts on the environment, wildlife, and human populations. Renette Cernan dives into the consequences of weather modification programs like cloud seeding and the alarming presence of heavy metals in rainwater and the impact this has on local communities, natural ecosystems, and unusual weather patterns. This is the type of research that, I am curious about and will give some credibility to, especially when they're talking about barium oxide being found in groundwater supplies because of rain. This important conversation underscores the urgency of collective action involving environmental attorneys and community engagement to navigate the legal frameworks, raise public awareness, and drive advocacy for transparency, accountability, and environmental restoration. Emphasis is placed on the critical role of individual and community efforts in combating the adverse effects of environmental modifications and fostering a movement towards planet-wide healing, while also acknowledging the daunting challenges that may arise and the necessity for shared resources and proactive measures. So I like that introduction. Again, we do play one. There's a weekly one that's broadcast about geoengineering. I've heard some people say that the broadcaster is somewhat, what's the word? Hyper, a little bit over the top. But I listen to the program on a regular basis and he makes sense in certain ways. So I'm not going to just dismiss these claims of weather modification, geoengineering, chemtrails, HARP, but I will weigh the reality of what we understand about scientific methods and the capacity for humanity to actually do that. I do agree with the statement that I shared just a little bit ago that the energy will be necessary to modify the weather, atmospheric conditions from something like HARP. That energy is absolutely tremendous amount of energy necessary to sustain that as a reality. And I believe that absolutely to be true. So we have to look at each of these things and ask the question, fact or fiction. Emergency, lastly, list of components of an, and computer, please don't lock up. Not responding. Let's go over here and restore what we were listening to. And I think we've got it restored right now. Bear with me. Of a disaster preparation kit. So that's what we're looking for over there. We're going to go live for You Now family one more time, just real quickly push this up so you can join the conversation as well. We're talking today about killer hurricanes. Is it meteorological, man-made, or metaphysical? So we are back up. The computer crashed for those of you who were listening along. Sorry about that, but stuff happens. I'm going to share the window, and so you can see my smiling face all crumpled up into the camera. Here we go. Let's continue. Doomsday prepping list. No, it's not doomsday. My Patriots Supply, the original emergency food kit and supplies. That's not too bad, but we're looking for build a kit ready.gov. How to build a kit for emergencies from FEMA. 10 items to include in your emergency kit from FEMA. Let's go to how to build a kit. Nah, FEMA, can they be trusted? CDC, ready.gov. Why are these all? These are all official sites. What happened to some alternative? Sorry, DuckDuckGo. I like the fact that you're protecting my privacy, but I don't like the fact that you really don't give a variety of selection. And we like to be protected from spying and surveillance by the government, but at the same time, I don't necessarily like the fact that when they're protecting us from them while only directing us to them. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. So we now are at Ecosia, a disaster preparedness kit. Bear with me here. This is still coming in. Disaster preparedness kit is essential for ensuring safety and survival during emergencies. Here's a list of common components to include in your kit. Number 1, water. At least 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days. That's pretty reasonable. So if you have a household of 4 people in your household, 1 gallon per person per day for 3 days means you have a minimum of 12 or more gallons per person per day for at least 3 days. At least 12. Number 2 on the list, non-perishable food. And here I'm going to copy, cut, and paste this to my other document. Number 2 on the list, non-perishable food. A 3-day supply of food that does not require cooking . A 3-day supply of food that does not require cooking, such as canned goods, granola bars, and dried fruits. I would say put on that dried nuts, as well as many packaged foods as well. And you want to make sure that whatever they are, they can stay dry. Number 3 on the list is flashlight, preferably with extra batteries. Number 4 on the list, first aid kit, including bandages, antiseptic wipes, pain relievers, and any personal medications. And I would say also, well, we haven't gone through the list. It'll probably get to have a baby wipes and things around. Multi-tool or Swiss Army knife, useful for various tasks. I do definitely agree. Number 6, whistle, to signal for help if needed. Number 7, dust mask, to help filter contaminated air. Number 8 on this list, plastic sheeting and duct tape for sheltering in place. If you don't already have tents, pup tents, I do keep 2 tents around in my emergency supplies, my bug out system. Number 9, moist towelettes, garbage bags, and plastic ties for personal sanitation. Number 10, manual can opener. Number 11, local maps in case GPS is unavailable. Number 12, cell phone with chargers and backup battery to stay connected. Cell phone with chargers for the cell phones and a backup battery. You could get one of these, which is a portable battery charging kit. This one's a few years old, so it is not the best, but at least I could keep using this. I could keep my cell phone on for probably about a week. It's not unreasonable. Number 13, cash in small denominations. Number 14, emergency blanket. Compact and useful for warmth. And again, these are like foil blankets. They really no size at all, but they do a really good job at reflecting body warmth. Number 15, clothing and sturdy shoes. Very important, including a change of clothes and durable footwear. Number 16, important documents. Copies of insurance policies, identification, and medical information in a waterproof container. You might want to also have them digitized in a waterproof key drive. It also is a good idea to regularly check and update your kit to ensure that items are not expired and that it meets your specific needs. If you're interested in sustainable practices related to disaster preparedness, feel free to ask. And so that's not a bad list. That wasn't a very long list, comprehensive list. I do carry, in my bug out bags, I carry tools, certain tools like a hatchet, small hatchet or hammer. I have 2 tents. One is a 2-person tent, another is a 6-person tent. 2 different size bug out bags. One is quick, gotta go. The other one is more of a suitcase you throw in the back of a truck or a car in case you got a bug out. I do keep emergency food supplies around. Things like canned goods. Things like, and I will have an extra knife or 2 or eating utensils. I have a water filtration bottle with a straw. You put dirty water in it and just filter it through the straw and it comes out, and it's potable water at that particular point. So there's all kind of these kits that you can get, and there are many different YouTube videos that are available. In fact, let me just find, because I have one. Oh no, this was the one I had up on YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube, when they canceled my account, they disposed of several prepping videos that I had put together, and they were very good too, very, very good. I would do that once every year or 2. But we're just looking for prepping bug out bag, prepping. Here, bear with me, I'm doing a search, but everything's kind of slow. PREPPING for emergency kit bug out. So I'm just going to pull up one video. There are short videos. What's inside our emergency 72-hour bug out bag? This is a commercial venture, the Family Fudge. I think you can buy it. What should go in your bug out bag? This is a sponsored med. 20 must-have items for your bug out bag. I'm looking for, some of these are very powerful. Make this kit before it's too late. 72-hour survival kit, Dollar Tree challenge. I like that because I think Dollar Tree is one of those businesses that we should be supporting to the very best of our abilities. So I'm not going to play that video. I'm going to copy the link. This is the Dollar Tree 72-hour survival kit challenge. Good idea, no doubt. There is the title. Here is the link. Copy, cut and paste this. This is again a YouTube video, and maybe I'll play that YouTube video right after the program for today, so those of you on our YouNow or TuneIn app will be able to continue to follow along. Copy, cut and paste this. For all of those of you following along, here is the 411 on that. And I want to thank you for tuning in today to LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. We do the best we can to do the best we can, because when we do our best, we're actually able to make a change in the world. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are livinginblack.com. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you everyone who did weigh in. Thank you all for hitting the like button, letting the algorithms know that we're here and we don't intend to be ignored. No, 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 no. We've come too far together to bug out prematurely. On your favorite, we aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are living in black.com. And thought I had the bumper music queued up the right way. Can I get this done right before I have to go out? Sure you can, Keaty. You've done it so many times before. Turn on the Bluetooth. Connect the device. Turn on the device and connect. And we are wrapping it up here for an LIB Radio, LIB TV, and living in black.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and on livinginblack.com.